Imagine waking up one morning, reaching for your phone, and realizing that TikTok, one of the biggest social media platforms in the world, has vanished. Just gone. No warnings, no countdown, just silence. Millions of users cut off overnight. But why? We've been told this is about national security, protecting our data from China, and stopping foreign influence. But what if I told you none of that is really the truth? What if the real influence behind this ban came from an entirely different country? This isn't just about spyware, privacy, or Chinese ownership. This story runs deep. It's a battle over influence, control, and the narratives that shape our world. From claims of national security risks to accusations of brainwashing Americans, TikTok has been caught in a political crossfire, one orchestrated by the most powerful lobbying groups in the world. Groups that don't want you to hear certain voices. The truth behind the TikTok ban is darker than what the headlines will tell you. And today, we're going to break it down. Let's take a closer look. To truly understand this ban, we need to go back to 2020. At the time, TikTok was exploding in popularity, especially among young users who were using the platform in ways that traditional media couldn't control. Then, President Donald Trump declared that ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, was a national security threat. His administration claimed that the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, was using TikTok to spy on American users and steal their data. Sounds serious, right? But here's the problem. There was no real proof. Multiple cybersecurity reports found that TikTok was no more dangerous than Facebook, Google, or Instagram, platforms that have been caught selling user data, not just to private companies, but even to China itself. So why single out TikTok? Because Trump's war with China was never really about privacy, it's about power. TikTok wasn't just a social media app, it was the first major platform that America didn't control. For decades, Western tech giants like Google, Facebook, and Twitter dominated the global social media landscape. They decided what content could spread and what voices got amplified. But TikTok disrupted that system. It was Chinese owned. It wasn't as easy to manipulate. It wasn't playing by the same rules, and that made a lot of very powerful people very nervous. So, in August 2020, Trump signed an executive order demanding that ByteDance sell TikTok to an American company or face an outright ban. Microsoft and Oracle rushed to buy it, but the deal fell apart. Then came the election. Trump lost, Biden took office, and one of his first moves? Revoking the TikTok ban. For a moment, TikTok was safe. But as we'd soon find out, this fight wasn't over. Fast forward to October 7, 2024. Something happened that no one saw coming. Israel launched a brutal military assault on Gaza, making the deadliest escalation in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in decades. But this time, there was a problem. Something Israel had never faced before. TikTok. For decades, Israel controlled the global narrative around its military actions. Through national media like CNN, Fox News, and the New York Times, Israel was always portrayed as the victim, while Palestinians were terrorists. But TikTok changed the game. Suddenly, millions of people around the world were seeing raw, unfiltered footage from Gaza, civilians live-streaming bombings, children crying in the streets, journalists exposing war crimes in real time. The numbers don't lie. On Instagram, there was 5.7 million posts tagged #FreePalestine compared to just 214,000 tagged #StandWithIsrael. On Facebook, the gap was even larger, 11 million for #FreePalestine versus just 278,000 for Stand With Israel. But TikTok, the numbers exploded. Between December 15th and 22nd, 2023, views for #FreePalestine peaked at an astronomical 82 million in just 1 week. Meanwhile, #StandWithIsrael barely scrapped 2 million views. This wasn't just a trend, it was a seismic shift in global sentiment, and not everyone was happy about it. For decades, traditional media outlets like CNN, Fox News, and the New York Times have controlled the mainstream narrative. Governments and corporate interests dictated the headlines, ensuring that certain viewpoints were amplified while others were silenced. But TikTok was different. It allowed people to tell their own stories, unfiltered and unedited, and that made it dangerous, at least for those in power. Jonathan Greenblatt, the CEO of Anti-Defamation League, or ADL, was one of TikTok's harshest critics. Known for his staunch pro-Israel advocacy, subtly took issue with TikTok's lack of oversight. But the real reason for their concern was that TikTok didn't allow the same level of manipulation and censorship that platforms like Facebook and Google did. To justify the ban, a statistician named Anthony Goldblum made a very bizarre claim. Hear this out. Spending just 30 minutes a day on TikTok could make someone 17% more anti-Semitic. This unfounded statistic was then repeated in mainstream media and even cited by politicians like Nikki Haley during a live debate. The smear campaign had begun. Interestingly, leaked internal documents from TikTok in late 2024 revealed that over 70% of its global content moderation team was based in the United States, directly contradicting claims that Chinese operatives were actively controlling the platform's content. With pressure mounting, the US government took action. In March 2023, Congress passed the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversaries Act, framing TikTok as a major national security threat. The bill accused TikTok of brainwashing Americans and harvesting user data for the Chinese government. But here's the problem. Companies like Facebook and Google have done the exact same thing for years. They've been caught selling user data to China, yet they never faced bans or heavy scrutiny. So why did TikTok get singled out? The answer: AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, one of the most powerful pro-Israel lobbying groups in the US. AIPAC had a vested interest in shutting down a platform that was challenging their carefully crafted narratives. The Quran warns us about those who seek to control the truth. In Surah Al-Baqarah 2:256, it says, "Let there be no compulsion in religion, for the truth stands out clear from error." The reality is that the truth, when given a platform, stands out, but those in power will always try to suppress it. The Quran also tells us in Surah An-Nisa 4:135, "O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves or parents and relatives." This means we must seek justice and truth, even when it's inconvenient or goes against the dominant narratives of society. Let's think about this for a moment. The United States claims that banning TikTok was necessary for national security, yet this is the same country where guns are the leading cause of death among children, millions of Americans lack access to healthcare, homelessness continues to rise. If the government truly cared about security and protecting Americans, wouldn't they focus on these issues instead? But when it comes to banning a platform that gives people the power to mobilize for real change, the government acts fast. With TikTok's ban, many users flocked to RedNote, a Chinese alternative dubbed the Instagram of China. Ironically, in trying to suppress one Chinese platform, the US inadvertently gave rise to another. But the battle isn't over yet. Recently, TikTok announced that it would restore service to the US users after receiving assurances from President Donald Trump. The back-and-forth nature of this ban only highlights how politically motivated it was from the start. At its core, the TikTok ban is about more than just an app. It's about who controls the narrative. Governments and powerful organizations don't want people consuming unfiltered content. They want people consuming their version of the truth. In a recent survey conducted in 2025, just over half of the US adults, around 54%, say they at least sometimes get news from social media platforms like TikTok, Telegram, and X, up slightly compared with the last few years. This saga proved one thing. When it suits their interests, whether it's rushing to pass a bill, funding war efforts, or covering for atrocities, governments can act with extreme haste. The TikTok wars may have stopped for now, but make no mistake, this is only one battle in the larger war for truth in the digital age. In this day and age, where silence is encouraged and truth is suppressed, we must remember the words of the Prophet ﷺ, أفضل الجهاد كلمة حق عند سلطان جائر. The best form of jihad is speaking the truth in front of a tyrannical ruler. O Allah, grant us the courage to speak the truth even when it is unpopular. O Allah, strengthen our voices against injustice and falsehood. O Allah, let us never be swayed by fear, pressure, or propaganda. No matter how hard they try, the truth cannot be hidden forever. May we always be among those who seek it and defend it. Ameen.
وكلهم شربوا